Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to a new episode of Words of Wellness. I'm your host, Yassir Al-Manawi, a clinical therapist. Today we are going to be talking about self-knowledge again. Self-knowledge is very important to me, and I hope to you as it is to me too, because when I know myself, I will know my life, I will know my directions, I will know my needs, and I will know my wants. If I know myself, I will know how to pick my friends or how to choose my friends. Why? Because I already have a direction for me as a human being. Not only that, if I know myself, I will be emotionally balanced and I will not be like a feather in the wind in this life. So we have a hadith on Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. We're going to read the hadith and we're going to get back into our discussion. The translation of the hadith says, and Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, "He who knows himself knows his Lord." What does that mean? He who knows himself knows his Lord. This is actually something that we teach all the time and we use in psychology, especially in value structure and restructure. We take it as the way we teach it, it's more of like philosophical, and at the same time it's psychology, and that's what we need to take a look at. You have, if I know myself, I know my characters. What are my characters? I had a patient once, and I'm going to relate this story to you. I had a patient once. He didn't know anything about himself. I told him, well, what do you want to do in life? He just looked at me and he said, I don't know. I just gave up. I don't know. I told him, well, what are your values? He said, I don't know. What do you like to do? He said, I have no idea. So right away I reverted and I asked him, well, what would you, if you have children, what would you like them to be? And then he started telling me, well, I want them to be honest, I want them to help others, I want them to be brave, I want them to be this, I want them to be... He gave me like 16 values. I told him, well, where do you think he got these values from? He said, well, I don't know. It's what I want to instill in my son or my child. I told him, okay, don't you think you have all this stuff in you? He said, well, I guess it came from me. I told him, where did it come from? And then one session after the other, he realized that he has his own set of values that was instilled in him a long time ago by his parents. And then over the years, because of traumatic experiences all over his life, he just steered away from it. He didn't want to do anything. And he started doing the opposite. Doing the opposite made him feel depressed, made him feel, it's almost like it's a despair. That's exactly the word, despair. He didn't want to do anything else. He just gave up. So when we talked about his values, I asked him, where do you think your parents got the values from? And then we took the chain all the way back to the end. And guess what did he say? He said, well, I guess it's spiritual values. It came from a higher power. I told him, well, it's good that you realize that by yourself. Now that you know these values are yours and you connected that to a higher power, you know what? He realized that this is actually what this hadith is all about. When you know yourself, you get closer to your higher power. When you know yourself, you stand on a higher ground. What does that mean? You stand solid and concrete. A lot of people will come to me and tell me, well, I am in control of all of this. And I say, well, that's a little bit arrogant, because nobody could be in control of everything else except of two things. And I gave them the two things. And then I tell them, please, if you find anything else that you are in control of, let me know. So he asked me, what are those two things? I told him, well, two things that you are in control of are your thoughts, what you think about, and your actions, which is actually what you think about, what comes out of your mouth, because sometimes you have intrusive thoughts and you stop them. So you're in control of that, and your actions. Other than that, you're not in control of anything else. And if you think that you are in control, then you have arrogance in you. And if you have arrogance in you, then you're hiding a problem. Then you need to deal with it. You need to deflate that and get back to who you are and what you are and get rid of your fear. That's the only way you're going to go ahead and move on in your life. So now we're talking about the values. Let's take a look a little bit about the values. Since we already established that they're linked and they come from a higher power, how do we change them? Values are structured and restructured after a traumatic experience, as we said before, in somebody's life, positive and or negative. That's the way they change. Other than that, they take a lot of work in order for you to change them. People who have values and they stick to their values, they are actually living a happy life. They don't have a conflict, because values conflict causes guilt, feelings of guilt, causes feelings of shame, causes feelings of sadness and depression and anger. And you're left with all of these feelings because of the values conflict. Values have to be positive, meaning that I can't tell you my value is not to do something. My value has to be I value helping others. I can't tell you I value not mistreating others. You see, that's the negative value. It has to be helping others, which means it has to be something that you're looking forward to. It has to be something that's ahead of you. It's just like a goal, as opposed to something that's behind you and you're running away from it. Values have to be done in a way that's pretty much like a pyramid, which is the first value on the top, number one value. If you lose it, you lose everything else underneath. And the last value at the bottom, which is the least important value you have, if you lose it, it's going to mean something to you, but it's not going to mean much. But at the same time, all the values that you have, like let's say if you have 8 values, so it'll be number 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, all the way up to 1, they build up to number 1. They all assist you to reach the first value that you have. That's the beauty of having values. And if you know your values, you will get to know yourself very well. And this is another thing, because by the time with this patient, by the time we restructured his values and put them in orders, he looked at them and he said, wow, this is really great. That's me. That's the way I am. Please, when you work with values, what I want you to do is that I don't want you to instill your values on somebody else. I don't want you to try to put your values or give them to somebody else. Everybody has to have their own independent values. They cannot have somebody else's values, otherwise they're not going to feel connected to it. So this is the beauty of having values. So at the end of this episode, I just wanted to tell everybody that get a piece of paper, write your values, and look at them. If they're close to you, then that's your true values, and live by them on a daily basis. With these words, I'll leave you for this episode, and we'll see you in a different episode, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.